Good evening. This is my little cat. I was gone all day and she missed me. And she wanted to be on the video of Strange and Interesting Times, day 204. You know, I don't think cats count the days. They don't have a calendar. There is no cat calendar. I mean, we have pictures of cats on calendars, but for her, it's just when does the sun come up because that's when I can go out, and when does the sun go down because that's when I have to be back in. And what is there to chase and hunt and sneak up on all day long? And maybe it's a good way to live. Hey, Becky, great to see you. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about emotions. I had a great line, but whatever it is. Our emotions, emotional rivers, I think, or rivers of emotion. Both. Cats don't have a lot of emotions either. They do remember things, you know. If you keep treats somewhere, thanks, Andy. I like her a lot. She's a very fun cat and very fierce. She caught a rat today. Well, yesterday. She's amazing. But in terms of rivers of emotion, like the cats get embarrassed, you know, if they were like sitting on the back of a rocking chair, like a padded rocking chair, and they wake up and they twist and they knock the chair. See, she knows I'm talking about her. And they fall off. Then they pretend like they get up and do it again and pretend like they meant to do it on purpose. So that's kind of funny. They only do that if you laugh at them. But animals don't seem to hold a grudge. They do seem to be happy some days and not so happy other days. So that's kind of interesting. But what they don't do that humans do is they don't worry about it. If they're having a good day, they don't worry that it's going to end. If they're having a bad day, they don't stew over it. This little VC, if she's having a bad day, she just curls up in a ball and sleeps until it's the next day. And then sometimes I think, well, that might be a really good thing to copy some days. But I was talking to a friend of mine today and thinking about emotions and different kinds of emotions, and how for me emotions are like water. They're fluid, they move, they can be bright and sparkly like sunshine on a bubbling brook. They can be dark and deep and full of undertow like a flooding river or an ocean in the storm. So they are changeable, just like water is changeable. And they can be hot, they can boil, and they can be icy cold. It took me a long time to realize that real anger, the meanest kind of anger, is ice cold. And that the hot anger is still involved in energetic connection and working something out, and probably a desired outcome and different outcomes and a push and pull. And when something goes icy cold, it's about to be done. So these are just metaphors that work for me, and you can play with them, look at them, see what you think, see how you feel. And the idea of an emotion as a river, like a river that's running beside us, as opposed to a river that's running through us. Sometimes emotions feel like they just well up inside of us and flow out. And they can. But then the other thing I like to think about is surfing on my river, surfing on those emotions, riding the waves, letting the things go up and down, and being able to negotiate the rapids, the twists, the turns. You know, maybe sometimes you hit a rock and you get knocked over and got to get back out and keep going. So those are all things that can happen to us. But if we if we imagine our emotions like a river beside us, the other thing about them is they are attractive energetically. Once, when I was younger, I went to Niagara Falls, and I was married to Larry at that time, and we took his 2 kids. They were little then, and it was our family vacation, and we went all around the Niagara Falls Park, which is a big thing. You can get on the boat and you can ride the boat under the falling water and in the churning waves and stuff, and it's pretty cool. But up above the falls, there's a whole park, and people, we didn't camp because we didn't camp, but I think there was camping up there. But there was lots of green stuff, and there was this river that turned into the falls, and it was huge, wide. I don't know how wide it was, and it wasn't very deep. Maybe a foot, maybe a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet. And you could see across the other side, and there were people on the other side, and there were people on our side, and there were rocks to, like you looked like you could walk across a path of rocks. And the water was flowing. It had an energy and a current, but it wasn't that deep. And so, like, I'm thinking, well, if I wanted to walk across there, if I wanted to stand in there, and my husband's going, don't get in the water. And there was no railing. Okay, this was like in the old days. I'm sure there's like tremendous railing and fence all around it now so that you can't do this. I mean, and who didn't grow up hearing stories about people who went over the falls in a barrel or something? But I was there beside the river, and I just felt this like energy of wanting to be pulled into the river, wanting to feel that water flowing past me before it got to this huge fall and this big turmoil. I didn't step in it because I was nice. He was worried. I was pretty sure I could survive, and that it wasn't going that fast, and that it wasn't a big undertow, and that I wouldn't be swept away. That's pretty much how I look at all emotions and all water. I swam a lot as a kid. I was a lifeguard. I believe in my heart that I can manage water. Might not be true, but that's what I believe. So then I think I can manage emotions. And so sometimes I put myself into a place where there are big emotions, not necessarily mine. And I think, oh, well, I can withstand this emotional flow or flood from somebody else. And the thing I realized today when I was thinking about this is that emotion has an attractive energy, and water merges with other water. So if you have a stream going along in another stream, and the land kind of goes downhill, and they come together and they make a bigger stream, or they make a river or something. So there is this energy of being pulled in, which is okay, and you can test it and see how you feel. But if you end up feeling pushed this way and pushed that way and pushed underwater and tossed in the air and just like, man, what happened? If that happens to you, then I have a suggestion about a way you can be near the emotion, be compassionate to the person who's having the emotion. Because what I realized today is a lot of times when somebody's caught in the flood of their own emotions, they kind of erupt like the waterfall flowing over there and bouncing in the water and bouncing up. And their emotions spill out of them, and they spill onto the people and the places around them. And they want to have people join them in their emotional flow. So if it's a happy time, you know how like laughter is catching. If it's a happy thing, that's pretty much more enjoyable to be caught up in somebody's happy thing than, say, to be caught up in their sad thing, their angry thing, or their frustrating thing. So at the same time, they should have all of their feelings, and we should have all of our own feelings. And we should be free to have them, but not be had by them. So that if I'm feeling sad, I don't have to share my sadness with somebody else. If I have a good friend and I can talk about my sadness and soften it and spread it out, sort of like, instead of a narrow stream that's moving pretty quickly, I can get it to widen out and slow down and not have as much power and energy. And if my friend is able to be with me without getting caught in my emotion and help me make that shift, that's one of the kindest things we can do for another person. So as a young person, I was really pretty funny, actually. Maybe not so funny, maybe hard to deal with, because I would have big emotions, and I truly believed that in order to have the real high excitement that I experience, I had to have the other low end to balance it out. And I don't know that that's true anymore, because living, I kind of have learned a few different things and some different techniques. So one of the things I do is to pay attention to how I'm feeling, to listen to my body, because certain emotions live in your body in different places. And for sure, sadness and disappointment lives kind of in what people call your heart chakra. And this part of your body can get kind of depressed. It pressed in and pressed down and compressed. And sometimes you just gotta let it be there. I have a beautiful friend, actually it's my friend Vipa, who she did the happiness talk in the Healing Path. If you wanted to go back and look at that, it's a really, we laughed and laughed. It was a joyful talk. And one of my sadnesses is right now we can't see each other at all. We live in the same town, kind of opposite parts of outside of the town. And we used to walk together, and she was really, really present when my mom passed away. And she was a colleague in the university where my program where I was working was cut. And so I was last in, so first out. And that happened the same week my mom went into hospice care. So I was really pretty bent out of shape, should we say? Bent out of shape. And hey, Vincent, I'll come back to that question in a couple of minutes, because it's a good question. And it took me a long time to heal, because it was too many bangs at one time. Because my mom was my first dance teacher, and this job I had was a dancing job, and she was dying, and the job was dying, and it was heavy. It was heavy, right? And it was heavy on my heart. And my friend was able to walk beside me as we walked, and we did actually physically walk, and we walked by this beautiful stream, and we took pictures of beautiful things. And when I needed to vent, she allowed me to vent without piling on or without trying to make me feel better. Sometimes she would say, this will shift. It's not shifting yet. But she didn't try to cheer me up. She didn't try to make me be positive. She didn't try to change me. And every day I did my gratitude practice. I checked in with some ease in my system where it feels a little bit easier. And sometimes something would feel easy and I would just start to cry, because what I was carrying, the tension I was holding, was to keep me from feeling things. So that was a process of spreading out my really deep hurt till it was wider and softer and easier for me to negotiate. Now, Vincent asked the question, is it dangerous to be sentimental and defend the sentimentality? It depends where you live, depends what people you're with, depends on the situation. I don't think that emotions make us vulnerable. I think reacting to our emotions makes us vulnerable. And so if I had gone around breaking things and tearing up things and trying to destroy other people because I was really sad and really hurt, and for a good portion of the time, pretty angry about how things had unfolded, that would have been irresponsible. Now, the other thing I was tending to do, which is what often we do, is I was tending to try and hold it all inside. You know, when you hold it inside and pretend to be fine. Oh, not successful either. Not successful. But letting it move, right, without using the energy of the emotion like a sword, that's okay. Because stuff has to move to heal. It's just, in my world, things have to move. Everything that's alive is moving. And so we usually hurt ourselves through movement and we heal ourselves through movement. And I'm just kind of the, just dive into the deep end and start swimming and it will work out. So Vincent, I would tell you, in the framework I live in, no emotion is dangerous. If you are in a situation where a certain kind of behavior is expected and certain emotions are perceived of as weakness, which sometimes happens, then there might be times and places where you would choose to express your real honest feelings. Like, it was safe for me to express my feelings with my friend Vipa when we were walking. She was there, she was kind, and she was herself grounded enough that she was not in danger of being pulled into my emotional storm. And I am going to have to call her after this call and tell her what a great gift that was, because the more I think about it, the more I realize how generous that was of her to be there for me in that way. Now, the thing about defending something, oh, did you hear that word? Defend. See, I totally lost my ease. I have a judgment about the word defend and what it means. And so then I would start to play with the word defend if it was in my vocabulary. And why do I feel like I need to defend anything? Why do I need to justify anything? My emotions are my own and nobody has any say in them. As long as I don't demand that, see, I don't like demand either, demand. As long as I don't demand that someone else feel what I feel, share the emotion that I share, say, feel the outrage I feel about a certain situation, as long as I don't make that demand, nobody has any say in how I feel. That's me and mine. Now, maybe that's defensive. I think it's responsible. My emotions are my responsibility to manage in the world, to manage in myself, and to manage in my relationships with the people that I care about. And then the general public, because, like, no one wants to see a crazy woman, throwing bananas in the grocery store because, I don't know, because there was no ripe ones or something, whatever. When we are out of balance, very tiny things can set us off. The other thing about emotions is sometimes we have emotions that we are familiar with, that we like, and we stay in those emotions and avoid other emotions. And so the emotions that we know how to manage stay up here. And the real thing that's feeling down here, causing us to feel something, is another emotion that we maybe aren't so happy to deal with. So in my case, when my mom went into hospice and I lost my job, I was much more comfortable being angry about all the things that had been done wrong in my trajectory at my position, and all the things that I had been doing to grow the program while somebody else had been trying to diminish the program. It was much, much easier for me to be angry about that than to acknowledge the true sadness of losing my mom. Eventually, I had to deal with both because they were both there and they were kind of woven together, because that's my life is like that. Things weave together. They aren't always in straight lines or straight paths. So for me, the need to defend something is an indication that I'm out of balance. If I'm in balance, then if somebody else doesn't like something I do, it's okay. You don't like it, big deal. It's okay. Don't like it. If I want to have somebody say it's okay for me to feel something, then I'm not okay feeling whatever I'm feeling. So like if I demand acceptance, even not even just demanding somebody join me in my feeling, but if I demand that they accept that it's all right for me to feel the way I feel, then once again, I'm not really allowing myself to own my feelings. And so if I think about that and I say, oh, well, why do I care what they think about my feelings, what they think I feel about the situation, how I'm dealing with it, and so then I come back to myself and I scan for ease. And when you scan for ease, the feelings are freed up to move. So in the case of my heart area, it was probably about a year before this stopped being pressed in and started to expand. I started to go back to its natural shape. And, we can say, oh, well, this is pushed in, I don't want it pushed in. But then we do this thing that we do in Alexander, right? See, like I'm slumped down. So then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to push it out. And I'm going to open my arms. I'm going to have my shoulders wide. And I'm just exactly as tense as I was for feeling pulled down, because I just moved it. Paige is talking about just being with each other's discomfort when the person that you care about the most, like a partner, a spouse, a sibling, a parent, this is hard to withstand their struggle swimming in their own emotion. But even if it's a little kid, because when you're like little tiny kids, they feel huge. They feel just as huge of emotions as grown-ups. And they got that little tiny body. There's no way they can keep all that emotion in there. So, and the first time it's like, what the heck is this? You're like a little kid and you can't do your thing and you throw your toy across the room and this and that. And somebody says, don't do that. And then you feel crunched and I'm really glad not to be a little kid anymore. Whew, really glad. But since Paige brings this up, and I would suggest this to Vincent also, if you do the process of scanning for ease in your system, you feel the emotion, you feel the discomfort. The discomfort will be somewhere in your body, probably. And then you just check in where someplace easier than that discomfort. So for me, the discomfort was like right away, I was feeling discomfort in my shoulders. So I said, where is easier than the discomfort? And I felt in my ribs, I took a breath and my ribs kind of expanded. And then I think, well, where's a little place that's a little easier than my ribs? It'd be the middle of my back. And actually, if it didn't just something change in my stomach and I had a little burp, that's a release of tension in your body when that happens. All of those things, hiccups, burps, sneezes, all of those things are actually releases of tension in your system. And if you can start to do this, take care of yourself in the face of someone else's discomfort, that gives them the space to take care of themselves. And in the moment, you're doing something really good for yourself. You're paying attention to ease instead of paying attention to the discomfort. And one of the things that I always share, and I'm going to shut up pretty soon because this has gone on really long, is that tensing in our system and tension anywhere is tension everywhere. And easing anywhere is easing anywhere, everywhere. And so if you feel someone else's discomfort and you start to worry about their discomfort, you are adding to their discomfort. You can hear it in my voice. I don't like that word very much, but that's okay. So if I think about someone else's discomfort and I come back to myself and pay attention to the ease in myself, I have used their discomfort to take care of myself. And then in a magnanimous way, I am able to share back a little bit of that ease by not compounding their discomfort. And it's not that we ignore it. It's just that how we choose to interact with it. So Paige, we'll talk some more, and I do need to send you an email about the healing path, and it's in the back of my mind, and I need to keep it in the front of my mind. So thank you guys for listening. What did Becky say? She doesn't apologize for her feelings anymore. That is excellent. No need to apologize. I do sometimes apologize for inflicting my feelings on someone else because sometimes I do. But often now I say, listen, I'm dealing with something. I don't feel so great. So it would be better if I talk to you on another day because today I don't have the energy to pay attention the way I would like to. I'm probably going to be short-tempered. It's the same thing as having a headache for me. If I'm kind of caught up in my emotions, it takes energy and focus. And sometimes we need to do that and spend that and figure out what's going on, because a lot of times the first indication that we have that something is going out of balance is we have feelings that start to go too fast or rise up that are unusual feelings, different feelings than we're used to having. So this is a early warning system for information. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you can figure out how to pay a little bit of attention to ease in your system and just be kind to yourself when you're having powerful feelings, and kind to other people when they're having powerful feelings. Fear is one of the feelings that's just been kind of spewing out into the world during these strange and interesting times, and dealing with fear and dealing with my reaction to the fear in the air around me was what inspired me to start Strange and Interesting Times. So I hope you have a good evening. I'm going to go make supper, and thank you for tuning in. Take care, and tomorrow should be day 205. I can't even believe it.